Today we're going to take a look at this Asus ROG Ryujin III 360 Argb Extreme Liquid Cooler. Yep, throughout this whole week I've been doing lots of liquid cooling reviews, and if those of you who actually missed those, you can click on my top right hand corner. It will take you to the whole series of all the liquid AIO that I've tested. With this said, I'd like to thank Asus Singapore to have provided this unit for me to share with you guys. Asus came out with the Ryujin III 360, but this is the improved version, and the packaging is very unique. When you take this off, you can pull out, this is in fact the fans. Okay, 3 fans. Then right at the bottom compartment, when you pull out, okay, in fact it's this way. It feels premium when you unpack the whole unit. And at this section, you will expose the radiator, the pump, a VIP card, and all the accessories will be inside this package, inclusive of the instruction manual and such. These are the items that come in the package, and all this I've taken off from their Ziploc bag where they are labeled nicely. You have 3 fans, 2 fan cables with each having different connection point, which I will show you later. The Intel backplate, the Intel spacer, the AMD bracket, a bag of screws where you have long screws, which is meant for you to mount the fan to your radiator. Short screws with the washer is meant for you to mount your radiator to your case. A leaflet of stickers, an instruction manual, and the unit itself. This liquid AIO comes in 2 different colors, which is in black or in white, and both colors comes with Argb fans. Now, starting off with the measurements of the radiator, from here to here is at 399.5mm. From here to here is 120mm. And as for the thickness of the radiator, this is at 30mm. If you include the fans, now the fans are not 25mm thick anymore. In fact, they have increased to 30mm thick. So the fans plus the radiator together, it will give you a 60mm thickness. Now, measuring the fin stack, 1 inch, which is 20 fins per inch. And from the radiator end and the block, you have this nice butts, which are rubber. Both tubes are nicely sleeved, and it does comes with the Velcro stripe to hold on to the tube. The length of the tube is at 400mm. And when I calculate the diameter of each tube is at 12mm. Less of the sleeve and the exterior tube, the interior tube diameter should be 8mm. This will provide lots of water flowing through the pump to your radiator and back to the pump. Now, coming to the pump, this top you'll be able to remove, and it's magnet back to it. Now, when you want to place this back, make sure that this is at the corner. Okay, where you can see over here, then slot it in. This will prevent the cable from snapping. Now, as for the design of this top section, this is where the LCD is. This is a 3.5 inch with a resolution of 480 in pixel. Now, all around you have the labeling ROG, the logo, the ROG again, and the logo. And this comes with a very nice pattern grills, and all this are ventilated. This is to provide the cool air pushing off from the ventilated areas to your motherboard component with the help of the VRM fan, which is attached to it. Now, as for the measurement on this unit itself, measuring from here to here is at 78mm. From here to here is at 87mm. And if you want to measure the height from the top to the cold plate, is at 111.5mm. Okay, moving on to the bottom section. Now this is the pump unit, whereby I mentioned that there is this VRM fan over here, which goes through cool air from here and from here, which will go through all the vents area from the top to cool down the side VRM and the rear VRM. And the orientation when you mount it, right, make sure it's this way, as in like the tubes are facing towards the M.2, and this socket over here, or should I say the air pocket, is facing towards the rear, and this air pocket is facing towards the top VRM heatsink. Now the pump unit in fact is running at a max 3600 RPM plus minus 10%, and when I flip over the pump, it will show you a very large copper cold plate, and this is pre-paste. At all times, if you do not, if you have not mounted this to the IHS or to your motherboard itself, right, please keep this on so that you will not smudge the thermal paste. Before I talk about the radiator fans, the amount of details that Asus have done on the unit itself is fantastic. As you can see, the attention of details is incredible, and inclusive of the top. In fact, this is a improved visual from the original Ryujin III. Now coming to the fans, again the packing, attention to details, see, nicely done. Now just going to unpack one, since I've already unpacked both. Some of you might wonder that why am I using a ruler? A lot will just use your hands, to grab here and pull, right? You will give an arch over here, which if you use this, right, you won't be creating an arch over here. And what's inside the package? Again, packed nicely with Ziploc bags, and this is how the unit itself. And if you have not noticed, right, there are no cables on the fans. It's all individual. That's why earlier on I mentioned that they provided 2 sets of different cables with the different connection, which I will explain right now. Now, if you were to take note, as mentioned, all these fans are individual. How are they, daisy chained together? It's through magnet. See, this is how strong the magnet. This is how strong the magnet is. All right, just to show you the mechanism, it's very straightforward. You can only go in one direction. You can't do it this way. It will not work. It will still magnet, but on the wrong connection point. See, this is protruding up, this is going in, so you will need to plug it this way. Right now, the fan structure is very sturdy, it doesn't flex, and again, kudos to Asus, tons of details on their fans at the side frame. Okay, not this. Now this does show you the wind direction. This is how it rotates, and the wind pushing through that. Alright, and same goes to the crest, nicely on the blade, and these are 9 bladers, and if you notice, right, the blades itself, they have some kind of cuts, and this will definitely scoop tons of air. And over at this end, it's just a standard frame, and take a look at the frame. See, it's with arch. This is to assist and to channel, instead of having flat, right, because when the air is pushing through this way, in order to channel that air more concentrated to your radiator fin stack, they have done this arch. Well done. And all these fans, both sides, does come with rubber grommets, which is anti-vibration, which is good. And as mentioned, the blade here is 9 blader. These are all Argb. Now coming to the fan spec itself, these are 120mm fans with a thickness of 30mm and having a speed of 0 to 2800 RPM plus minus 10%. Yeah, that's right, they have pumped up from 2000, which is the previous version of the Ryujin III, to 2800 RPM, and this allows you to run at 0 RPM mode. Okay, if you choose to do so. Then it has a static pressure. Again, increase the static pressure to 5.15 millimeter H2O, and for the airflow is at 89.73 CFM. The noise of each fan is creating 36 decibel, and these are operated 12 volt DC. To add on the structure of the fans itself, I told you that this is 9 dissipator with the cuts. Now, I forgot to mention there is a ring throughout the whole blade. See? This will even channel or concentrate air going through and to the radiator. Now, something to take note when you mount this fan to the radiator, make sure you know the orientation. It's either this way or this way, but most will be this way. It's in like pull from the back, the air pull from the back and through the front, right, to go through your radiator, because it does need a surface area to scoop the air in. Now, besides this, right, take note on the daisy chain mechanism. Do not place it this way, alright, which is like that, because you need to daisy chain them. So you know, it's naturally you will need to place it this way. It's in like having it this facing this way. Okay, it's just like this, so that you can clip onto it. Now, assuming all are fixed with the radiator fan screw, you are left with these two cables. And I really have to say that this is a very brilliant idea. Sometimes this cable, when you daisy chain the fans, right, on other AIO, this is fixed. And at times you might want to change the orientation of your radiator and such, or maybe you plug the fans in the incorrect direction whereby your cable becomes that direction or such. You will need to take out the whole radiator fan and to reorientate them. But Asus have done a brilliant job. Once it's fixed, you don't have to worry about the orientation, as in like, you know, where does the cable go. They give you this option. Okay, whereby one cable here, the connection point is in, else here is protruding out. So if you're connecting to this end, this is protruding in. So you make use of the cable that is protruding out. And make sure that when you line, right, this stud over here on the connector goes to the hole over here. This will have a good connection. If you do it the other direction, yes, it can magnetic, but if this is the way, right, then there's no connection at all. So make sure that you align, as mentioned, this groove over here, or this stud to the hole over here, to have a good connection. So if let's say this is not where your cable is, which is at the back, okay, assuming this is the, okay, at the back, assuming this is the back, this is protruding out, so you use this cable instead. Alright, now make sure you only use either of the cables, alright, not two together. You're gonna blow the whole thing. So make sure you only use one. And this cable itself consists of not only the PWM fan connector, but the Argb connector, which supply or control the Argb on the blade itself. Preparation on the Intel platform. This liquid AIO does support LGA 11.5X, 1200, 1700, and the latest 1851 socket. Right now I'm preparing the 1700 socket. First thing you will need to do is to prepare the backplate. And by right, the backplate itself should have some labeling, but this doesn't have it. Instead, it has it at the front. And this marking doesn't tell anything. By the way, this backplate is very solid build. Okay, it's seriously very heavy. Not say very heavy, I mean it does have some weight. It's a full metal plate. Now, I do know that if you to push this out, this is to prepare the 1700 socket. If you put it in, right, this is the 11.5X socket. So push it out. Since this is for the 1700 socket or the 1851 socket. Next thing to do, flip your motherboard over to the back. Next, you see these 4 holes over here? Align the back plate screws to it. It doesn't matter which orientation, because whichever direction you go, right, it will just sit. So just slot to those holes. And this doesn't need any, this doesn't need any pressure. See, I can just put it this way, or even put it this way. It will just glide in. Okay, once this is done, right, hold on to the back plate, flip it over. While you flip it over, do not leave your board down first, because if you leave this down, right, see what happened to your back plate? It will just fall off. See, look at the screw threads. So make sure you hold on it together with your motherboard. Then place this 4 spacer, which is provided in the package. Just anchor point it. Now it doesn't matter which orientation that you place. It doesn't have an orientation, in fact. So just anchor it to the 4 point. Alright, once this is done, right, gently lift your motherboard down. See, the 4 spacer in fact is holding the back plate in place. Not firmly, but just holding. Okay, so you can just leave it down. Once this is down, right, next thing is on the flat surface on all this spacer, push it down. See, when you push it down, right, it exposes the thread. And why do I have to push it down? Is to firmly hold the back plate to your motherboard. Next, use alcohol clean the processor or the IHS. Once that's done, prepare your block. The first thing you need to do for the block, remove this. Make sure this is off. Reason being, right, if you have this together with the block, when you mount the block to the IHS or processor, right, you don't have a firm grip. Because when this is in, right, this will just wobble and shake. So make sure you take this off first. Next, since this is pre-applied, remove off this cap. Okay, align this four screw holes where at the top you have this mounting board to the threads over here. Okay, since right now I don't have the processor, so I'll just go through motion. Now, based on the fact that, okay, when you mount the block, as mentioned to you, to all the 4 threads, right, make sure that the hose is facing towards the M.2. Then you place it down. Anchor all the holes first. Okay, don't anchor one and you screw in. Don't do that. Anchor all the 4 holes to the threads. Assuming this is done, holding on to a block, see, you have better grip on the block if you remove this off. Next thing to do is to screw in the bolt. Now when you screw in the bolt, right, do not screw in all the way in with one. Do it like 1 turn over here, 1 turn over here, 1 turn over here, and 1 turn over here, until when it's fully gripped, right, you can continue with the pattern as I mentioned to you. Do it alternately, like the top left, do 1 round, bottom right, do 1 round, bottom left, do 1 round, top right, 1 round. So repeat the pattern. Once you feel that all the bolts, right, are in a fixed position, as in like it stops, that means to say it's fully clamping your block to your IHS. And why am I asking you to do it alternately, as in like, to do it bit by bit, as in like the top to the bottom to the top, again repeating the pattern? That is to ensure balance pressure to your IHS. If you do it correctly, right, with balance pressure, you will get good results. Next thing you need to do, a very important part, is to plug this in, which is a 4-pin PWM connector that controls the RPM of your pump and the RPM of your VRM fan. Plug this to the AIO_pump for ASUTEC board. For the rest, right, it could be W_pump or maybe pump or pump fan. Make sure you make use of those. Do not make use of CPU fan 1, CPU fan, CPU op, system fan, or even chassis fan. Do not use that. Reason being, right, the specific header for the pump has more amperage. So make sure you do that. once this is done, right, the next step you need to do is plug this back in the top where it controls the LCD or display the LCD. I would advise to plug this USB 9 pin connector to your motherboard first. Once that's done, right, plug this in. Now the orientation of this, the top section, right, is this way. You see this arch over here, where else the rest of the corners, right, or sides does not have this, is straight. So take note on this, make sure that the cable is flush to the side and not dangling in the middle. So when you have this, right, assuming the pump is already in, okay, let's do it this way, where the tube are facing towards the M.2, okay, this way. So with this arch following the tube and the cable tucked towards the side, so when you place it in, right, this cable, right, will glide nicely through this groove. If you dangle in the middle, right, when you plug it in, okay, let's say it's this way, okay, so when you tuck it this way, right, without having the cable at the corner, right, see what happened? You might just cut the cable. So make sure that this is tucked all the way to the side and to follow this grooving over here, so that to prevent the cable from cutting. Once this is done, right, the very final step, also another important part, is the radiator fan connectors, where you have 3-pin 5V Argb and the 4-pin PWM connector. For the 4-pin PWM connector, which is to control the blade of your radiator fans, make sure you plug it to CPU fan, alright, or CPU fan 1 or CPU fan 2. Do not plug this to system fan, okay, especially for Asus motherboard. If you don't plug to the CPU fan, you will have a prompt, when you boot the system, right, saying that you don't have a fan plug in. So make sure this is plugged to the CPU fan. By the way, for Asus board or Gigabyte board, you have this header called CPU op. Do not plug your fan header, do not plug your pump header nor your fans directly, the primary connection, right, to the CPU op. Reason being, right, it does not have a curve control, which means to say it doesn't control the PWM and such. Else for the CPU fan 1, right, it does. You can set the fan curve and such to run at certain RPM. And for CPU fan op, right, you will follow whatever curve that you've done on the CPU fan 1. So that's the reason why you only plug the radiator fan to the CPU fan. Next will be this ARGB connector, which is 3-pin. Look on your motherboard, just plug it to the 3-pin 5V ARGB header. And once you have done this, this is done. Now for AMD platform, it does support AM4 and AM5. It happened that this is an AM5. First thing you need to do, unscrew this that's holding on to these two brackets. You can just remove off. Retain back all the screws, which you will need. Next, in the package of this liquid AIO, right, you have this brackets, which is meant for the AMD. And take a look at the bracket. It shows CPU with the arrow pointing inwards. So mount this to this 2 point. Then place all the screws in. Now, since some of you have sent me email wanting to know how I do the actual mounting and such, I will not skip throughout. I will just show you. So when you mount this in, right, you don't have to screw in all the way. Okay, just make sure that the tip of the screws, right, is touching. Once it's touched, you can stop. You don't have to tighten. Reason for this, right, I always practice this way to have a balanced bracket. So once these are all in, right, see, I didn't tighten all the way in. Once you stop, I'll stop. Then I will tighten. I'll do a quarter turn, in fact. It's my practice. Okay, once this is done, next thing to do, apply alcohol to the processor. By the way, this is a 7950X, which I will be testing. which most of you are familiar that I'm using this to test throughout all the liquid AIO so that I can show you the results. So by applying alcohol, I clean the processor. Then I use the clean dry area, right, to clean again. Once this is done, next thing to do is the block. Again, remove this top cap where the display is. Next, I will remove this. Then I will anchor this thread, this hose over here on the block to the thread over here, and facing the hose towards the M.2. So I'll just align it properly. Okay, make sure that all four are in. Once it's in, right, you don't have to press too much because the mechanism, it will lock in place. Make use of your screwdriver. One end, okay, anti-clockwise till I hear a click. Okay, there's a click. Then I turn. Okay, probably I should give me a minute. All right, let me just adjust this so that you guys can see. Okay, I repeat that again. So over at this end, right, I will do anti-clockwise till I hear a click. Okay, once I hear the click, I will turn. Okay, this I will turn one round. Then I go to the bottom over here. Again, I hear a click, I turn one round. Okay, let me just turn this on. Then I follow by this area, anti-clockwise. I hear a click, I turn one round. Then right at this end over here, I turn till I hear a click, anti-clockwise. See, you hear a click, then I turn one round. So again, from where I start, this I will do 2 rounds. Okay, with the correct motion. 1, 2, 1, 2. Here, 1, 2. Remember the steps on how you clamp it, because I know I start from here, and then here, followed by here, then followed by here. Continue until you feel that the bolt is mounted in. Now, why do I remember the steps? Because sometimes you might forget, oh, whether did I did this first or did I do this first? So have a sequence that you can remember. As I'm talking to you, right, I'm actually recognizing on how I screw it. Okay, until I can feel that the bolt is in. And it takes time and patience. So what I'm doing is actually 2 rounds. It's like, I know the feeling of how I turn the thing. That's the thing. You must think that, wow, this is taking a lot of time. Yes, it does. Because the thing is that you want your cold plate to sit to your IHS in perfect balance weight. That's the reason why. Okay, I know this is done. This is done. If you do it correctly, right, all the bolts will just stop there. See, it stops. It stops. It stops. And it stops. So with the final turn, right, a tighten quarter turn. Not really quite tighten quarter turn. It's like, you just feel it, tighten it. Feel it, tighten it. Don't over exert. It's just, it's like your fingers are slipping off the screwdriver. So this is how I actually do it. Not by force, but naturally. Okay, this is done. So there you have it. I've done this for you guys. This is how I mount it. Later you look at the result based on what I mounted right here. Okay, I don't do any, repetition of mounting and such which a lot might feel that, oh, you get bad temperature, you have to repaste and such. If you doing it this correctly, you will definitely do it. Well, how come it sounds like, you know, there's one whole show say, Yan can cook, so can you. Okay, in fact, both Yan can cook and I have the same Chinese character, so yeah. Okay, anyway, this is towards the pump. As I mentioned, make sure you plug this to your pump, okay, where it provides more amperage to your VRM fan and your pump. Next thing to do, okay, I'll swivel this point out, is to mount this, the top section. And again, I often like to do this. Okay, flatten this, plug it to the USB header first, which is my practice. Once this is in, right, then I'll slot this in with the cable tucked to the side, following this groove, and this is done. Then you can do your cable management and such. Okay, this is only the pump side. The last thing I'll do is the CPU fan connector and the 3-pin 5V ARGB. Okay, probably I need to shift to the front so that you can see, or probably I can push up. Now for this, right, I know the 4-pin PWM fan connector is connected to the fan header over here, which is the CPU fan. This is done. Okay, again, do not plug this to your chassis fan or your CPU fan op. Okay, make sure it's at CPU fan underscore, sorry, CPU underscore fan or CPU underscore fan 1. Okay, make sure to do that, and not CPU underscore op. Okay, at all times, never to plug any fans or pump directly to the CPU fan op, because that does not have a main control. Okay, take note. But for this case, right, for the radiator fans, make sure you plug to the CPU underscore fan. Next will be the 3-pin 5V ARGB. So just plug it to the 3-pin 5V ARGB connector on the motherboard. So this is done. Before you can control the LCD panel, there are some stuff that you need to double check. First of all, go to your device manager, scroll down all the way where you see this universal serial bus devices. If you do not have this, right, turn off your machine, double check the connection of the USB connector to your motherboard. You can change slot if you want to, if it doesn't list over here. And if you have plugged and boot up on Windows, right, and this is giving you an exclamation mark or unknown device, that means to say your motherboard chipset driver is not up to date. You will need to update the chipset driver. Now, once you have done this counter check, this is done. Okay, the next step you need to do is to download the application. Go to the Liquid AIO page, which is this Ryujin III 360 ARGB Extreme. Now, do take note, there is another model which is without the ARGB Extreme, so please be very, very careful. Go to this page, click on support, okay, then click on drivers and utility, select your OS, and download this Armoury crate. Okay, this is needed. Once you have downloaded this and you've installed, right, I would advise to reboot your system. And once you have done everything, you will see this. This is like when you launch it. This, okay, on the left, this is Armoury crate. And on the right, this is where I show you earlier on, which is this. Okay, the live feed. Now, when you launch Armoury crate, first thing you need to do, click on settings, click on update center, look under device and component. In fact, for the very first time, right, there will be a question mark over here to ask you to update. And the first application it will show you is this, the ROG Ryujin III Extreme. Make sure this is downloaded and installed. Okay, if it doesn't list over here, right, you can just click on check for updates. If it still doesn't show, right, try to reboot your system again. Probably Armoury crate have not updated. That's the reason why. So reboot your system and launch your Armory crate. Again, come to settings, click on update center, and to install this. Once you've done this, right, you can start playing with it. Click on device, select on the ROG Ryujin III Extreme, and this is what you're going to show you. Now for the very basic function, let's talk about all this over here. Display, whereby you want to display, all this listed over here. You can just, display, apply. See? It will just follow. I mean, look at the screen over here. Whatever you have done on the application, it will show. So let's say I click on this, right, and I click on apply. Look at the screen. See, it will react. Now, as for this, right, you want to turn off the screen. Let's say you do not want this to display. You can just turn it off. See, it's off. And when you want to turn it back on, just turn it on. See, it's on. Next is on this portrait and landscape. Right now it's actually on landscape. If you want to display this on portrait mode, you can. Just select on portrait, click on apply. See, the orientation moved. So this is how it goes. I'll just go back to landscape. Then over here where you say setting, click on it. You will see all this, like the brightness. Okay, let's say for example I want to set it real bright. Okay, take a look. It will be extremely bright when you save it. If you were to set it lower, okay, take a look on the screen, alright. I'm going to click on save. See, it dims down. By default, I'll just say that leave it at 30. It's pretty alright. It's bright and clear. Then when you come to back to settings again, right, these are the default that you can set. Then warning on temperature, you can set it on. Okay, where it will prompt you if the temperature is above whatever you have. I mean, whatever you have set over here, you can set and you can save. So this is the setting. Okay, I'm just going to leave it this way. Now, over here, right, you can add slide as a night. You want to do shuffling mode or such. Okay, let me just set this to default. Now, if you want to add more, right, you can just add. See? Select and add. Then if you want the next one, you can just select and add. So you can set it. Let's say you want every 5 seconds, right? You will just change the slide, right? You just apply. Take a look at the screen itself. So every 5 seconds, right, you will move to the next slide. See, it moves to the next slide. And again, you can continue showing the screen and such. So this is actually how it works. Okay, let me just delete this two off. Setting at default. Now, besides this, right, you can set showing hardware info. Okay, for example, let's say you want to select this, right? There are different presets. Okay, these are all the presets that you can do. So if you do this, right, and you click on apply, take a look at the screen, see what happened. See, it will show you the CPU core. And you can add more stats. There's dual, there's triple. So when you set it to triple, right, for example, let's say the first one, I want the temperature of the CPU core, or you can set all this, up to you, the GPU and such. But I'll just leave it as CPU core. Then you can probably say I want to look at the fan speed of what. Probably I'll say the pump. Then last but not least, probably I would say the temperature of, let's say, your GPU. Okay, when I click on this, right, apply, take a look what happened. See, it will show you the stats over here. By the way, these are all the templates that you can play with. Okay, the stationary template. So if you want this, right, you can just apply. Oh, for your information, when you're changing your template, right, all this information over here, right, will stay. It will not go. So you don't have to worry that you have to reset again. See, this is the next one. These are all the presets. or if you want to, right, you can set to show time. There is only 2, so you can just click and you will show time. Okay, these are the things that you can do. Now, coming to images, you can upload too. You can upload your own image. See, when I click on upload, let's say I want to upload this. Okay, you can adjust the size up to where you want. Let's say, for example, I want it this way, and you can even rotate it if you want to. So let's say you want to save this, you just click on save, and it will probably take some time. And in order for it to load, right, you have to select and to apply. See, it loads. And if you want to have temperature, you can do this. Loading this, then you can play with the fonts if you want to. I can change the font, see, over here. It's not reflecting over here because you have to configure first. So that's the thing. So once you have configured everything done, right, okay, you're happy with it, you just click on apply. And you see, this will show. Now, uploading of the image, right, is, I would say that it's rather tricky, because based on the fact that all this readings, right, you can't do customization as in like to place it up top right, top left, or bottom right, bottom left. It's fixed when you upload a picture, including of uploading images, videos. Now for videos, right, it's going to take a very long time to load for some reason. So I would to advise you that, because these videos here, right, are above 3 minutes, I would to advise you, if you want to load videos, right, make sure that it's lesser than 3 minutes. I would say around 1 minute, or even better, 30 seconds. Okay, so these are things that you can play with. You can change the fonts and such. So you look at the fonts over here, right, the readings on degrees Celsius, I can change the fonts and to apply. So whatever you see on the dashboard, right, it doesn't see the readings, but on the actual run, we do have all this. Now besides this, right, the fan control, animation time, okay, I've gone through all this. These are the basic functions that you can do. Next thing will be on the fan control. Now fan control, you can set pump, or you can set the embedded micro fan, which is the VRM fan. You can set your own default curve and such, okay, or fix. You want it at, to ramp up all the way, you will just run. But it's only going to be very noisy if you set it all the way out. So take note on this. I'll just set it default, okay, and have it this way. And all this are the profile that you can choose on the embed. On the VRM fans, either silence, standard, turbo, or even full speed. Same goes to the pump. But pump, right, I would advise to have it fixed and to run at max 3600 RPM. If you find that noisy, you can lower it down. Now, reason for this, right, based on the fact that I wouldn't want you to spoil your pump that fast, because having it to smart mode, right, meaning say your pump is going to ramp up when the temperature is up, then when the temperature is down, right, it will ramp down. If you have inconsistent ramping on your pump motor itself, right, in prolonged period of time, right, you will wear and tear even faster. So I'll advise to run fixed, okay, at max or at 80%, probably around 3400 RPM and such. Now, reason for this, right, you might be asking, consistent pump running, that will even wear faster. No, that's not, because you are continuously making it run, and the bearing itself, right, it doesn't wear as in like, it stops and goes up, stops and go up. That will even wear even faster. I'm going to conduct a noise test. Now, the pump is at full speed, right? I didn't tweak or anything like that. Take a look at the stats on my right, and you can see that my pump is running at full speed. And take note on the radiator fans, when I run semi-bench, right, it will go up. Same goes to the temperature. But for now, testing on the pump which is at full load, I will move my microphone near to the pump and I'll keep silent for a while and you listen to the pump at full speed. That's how it sounds like with the microphone near the pump at full speed. Now I'm just going to shift my microphone to this and to let you listen at idle and at when I load Cinebench. So my microphone is near to the pump about 30 cm and away from the radiator fans about half a meter. So right now this is at idle. And now I'm just going to ramp up the Cinebench and take note on the readings on my right. There you have it, max load. That's how it sounds like with the ramp, with the radiator fans ramping up with the full speed pump. I'm going to let it sit at idle and you listen to it. This is at idle. Again, I'm going to ramp it up. There we have it, the max load. When I run Cinebench, you can hear the radiator fan and the pump. Now I'm just going to conduct the thermal test on this block, but before I do so, take note that I'm not using any thermal paste. I'm using the original pre-paste, and my room temperature, okay, yep, some of you might feel shocking, 31 degrees Celsius in room temperature is consistent. So testing on this environment, let's see what this liquid AIO can do. Components used in this thermal test, starting off with the processor, is the AMD Ryujin III 7950X, and the motherboard is the MSI Mota B650M. And as for the RAMs, I'm using the King Bang Dark Heatsink with cache latency of 28 at a speed of 6000 and the voltage of 1.45 volt. Now on UEFI, I've done some tweaks as in I set the PPO2 limits, and these are the settings which I set to PPT to 192 watt, TDC to 152 ampere, and EDC to 170 ampere, with the curve optimizer of -19 with a vCall offset of -0.05. Now all these settings, right, will reflect on the Ryzen Master over here when I run the benchmark. We have 192 watt on the PPT, 152 ampere on the TDC, and 170 ampere on the EDC. Now things to take note is based on this, where you see the CPU temperature, the core clock, and things like the power drawn. And as mentioned, that I've set the PPO2 limit is reflected over here, and it doesn't mean that whatever I fix the settings, right, you will draw to that. So it depends on the cooling on the liquid AIO, then you will just draw. Then this is the radiator fans. As I ramp the Cinebench, right, you'll see that this will go up, and this is the pump, which is always at full speed. Then other things that you need to take note is the other components like the motherboard temperature, which is system, the chipset, the MOSFET, and this two, which is the SPD. These two are the DDR5 RAMs, followed by my drive. And additional to it, I didn't run a discrete graphic card. Instead, I'm running off the APU from the processor. Just wanted to push more heat to the processor and see how much it can take. Now, how I conduct the test is pretty straightforward. When I mount the liquid AIO, right, I will let it run 30 minutes and let it sit for 5 minutes. Then I will run the 10 minutes. The last 10 minutes is what you see on this recording. Now, moving forward, as you can see, the Cinebench is running. So let me just pull all the way. Take a look at this. Let me pull all the way to the midpoint, which is 5 minutes, which is around here. So as I run, right, take a look at the temperature. It's hovering at 77 all the way to 79 degrees Celsius. In fact, most of the time it's touching 78 or 79. I'll take it as a max 79. Looking at the clock speed, right, this is the average. So when you look at it, right, wow, it's pulling pretty well, 5.2 gig or so, and maybe up to 2.25. I would say they're consistent at 5.2 gig and have a boost clock of 5.5 gigahertz consistently. As and when you will just pull. Then looking at the other stand, right, look at the radiator fans is doing fine, which I mentioned to you, right, this radiator fans is running max at 2800 RPM, which check out the mark where you can see that this is 2600, 2700 and such, see? And as for the pump, right, as I mentioned to you, plus minus 3600 RPM, this does check out too. In fact, it's in full. The rest of the temperature, right, it does pretty well. It doesn't hover more than 55 degrees Celsius. Pretty good. And looking at the graph, right, okay, now the graph somehow go haywire at certain point. If I were to pull over here the last 3 minutes or 2 minutes, this you can see that it's checkered. By right, to have a consistency, right, this should be flat. It will be good. But based on the fact that this liquid AIO does provide cooling, and the system is trying to pull much more wattage. As you can see, 192 watt, 193 watt, and it's trying to push up to pump the clock frequency. That's why you have the jacket lines. I would consider this a very good liquid AIO. Also observing the rest of the components, as you can see here, they don't run above 55 degrees Celsius. In fact, most is running below 50 degrees Celsius, which is good. Now, why do I say it's good? Based on the fact that it tells me that the cold plate of this liquid AIO are absorbing tons of heat, and inclusive of the VRM heatsink of all the vents area, right, it does cool off the whole section, like the side VRM, the rear VRM, and also the front ramps and the M.2. So that kicks off very well. That's the reason even at this last 2 minutes, take a look at the temperature, it's 79 degrees Celsius. And this is still, trying to push the clock up, which is a very good sign. Now, grabbing all the stats that I've tested on all the liquid AIOs, based on the fact that it's on the same processor, the same configuration and such. Now, I should have minus off the M.2. Reason being, right, half of all this liquid AIO that tested on the original MSI heatsink, or should I say the motherboard heatsink for the M.2, else half of it is not, based on the fact that I've damaged the M.2 heatsink. So you can just ignore this. Probably the next time around, right, I'll just minus this off, which is irrelevant. Now, where does the Asus ROG Ryujin III 360 Argb Extreme sits? Mouthful. It's on ranking 3rd, and I have my reasons why I place it this way. You might be saying that, hey Cleo, it should be on ranking 2 based on the fact on the temperature and the clock speed. True enough, but when you look at it closer, right, for the Nanigaha 2 Trinity Perf or performance, its pump is lower by 200 RPM and the fans are lower, and yet you can sustain all this temperature, which is pretty impressive. Though you cannot pump 5.2 gig nor having a temperature at below 80. That's the reason why I placed the Ryujin III 360 Extreme Argb Extreme to 3rd, based on the fact that the pump is much more, the fans ramping up at 2800, which is quite massive, and the temperature is slightly higher. And also the fact that if you were to compare to the Tri-X, right, probably you might say that, hey Cleo, you should actually pump the Tri-X down. Not really. Looking at the pump again, looking at the fan speed again, yes, I know it's drawing quite a number of degree Celsius on the motherboard, the DR5 and such, but these are marginal of error, which it doesn't go beyond 55 degrees Celsius, so it's pretty alright. Plus, Tri-X proven, okay, that it can draw 5.225 gig, which is 0.025 gig more compared to this, and the temperature is hovering good. Now, I would say that this liquid AIO, right, belongs to one of the top 3. And if you want performance and good looking, right, in fact, all of this, in fact, is looking very good to me, in my opinion. Okay, the Tri-X, the Lenny Galahad 2 Trinity Perf, and this liquid AIO, and also the Asus Prime LC360. And if you don't fancy LCD and such, right, yeah, I would say that you can actually go for Arctic Liquid Freezer 3. It does perform too. And for the rest, right, in my previous round, I split them to light blue and dark blue, but this time round, I just placed everything down here to dark blue. Reason being, right, take a look, all this temperature doesn't go 90 degrees Celsius or even up to 85 degrees Celsius, which is pretty good. So there's some play for you to do your case airflow. If you do it correct, right, all this liquid AIO that you choose, right, will definitely perform. Not an issue. Alright, so that's my conclusion. Ranking number 3 for Asus ROG Ryujin III 360 Argb Extreme. Mouthful. What are my thoughts about this Asus ROG Ryujin III 360 Argb Extreme? First of all, it looks very elegant. Okay, not only this, the attention of details they have done on this unit as compared to the previous version, right? This is so much better. I can see a lot of shadows, as in, like, the design of the grills and the logo and such, right, is popping up much more outstanding, which they did listen to me when I mentioned that, you can do things with details but make it pop. It does pop. Take a look at this ROG. See, the whole outline, it does pop. So that's the feeling that I have. Well done. And next of all, the performance of this liquid AIO, fantastic. It's very well balanced. Be it, giving the cooling to the rest of the components like the RAMs, the side VRM, and the back, right? When I place my hands over here, right, in fact, right now it's actually ramping at about 800 to 900 RPM on the VRM fan itself, which is inside. And based on these vents over here, they are not just for show. In fact, there is a usage on it. As I feel at the side towards the RAM, right, I can feel their air blowing off downwards. Then at the side of the VRM plus the rear, all this are ventilated nicely, and this keep the component cool. And on top of which, the cold plate is drawing all the heat off from the processor to the radiator. So these are the elements that allows the system, right, or to tell the system that, hey, look, I got enough cooling, please pump me up. Which you see, it did try to pull on the graph itself, right? It just try to pull more voltages in order to sustain higher clock speed, which is good. Now, coming to the fans itself, right, I do like the way they have done the mechanism, just like the original Ryujin III, where you daisy chain single fan. You don't have to worry about cables. You can plug to the end. They are all magnetic with that cable, which is very well done. And on the screen itself, also very well done. In fact, it's much more polished compared to the previous version. I can see there are lots of improvements. The only thing that I do not really like is that the arrangement on your readings. There are tons of readings down there, yes, true enough, but let it customizable, as in, like, to move the readings around. So that's the only thing that I dislike. Other than that, it's pretty fine. It's very sharp. Okay, I have no issues with the screen. It's it's popping out. And another thing I like to add on, sorry, I forgot to mention that the pump that they may use of, right, in fact, is a Asus Generation 8, but this is version 2, a much more better pump. It's so much quieter as compared to the previous Ryujin 3. That was quiet. Okay, this is silent. Now, when I place my mic near the pump, right, you might hear tick, 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 but that is where the mic is near. Okay, if this is actually mounted in the case, right, I couldn't hear a single thing. And mind you, this is at full speed. And back to the performance itself, right, you can see that the results are out, which is fantastic. And I'm testing in my country, which is a hot and humid country, and my room temperature, as you can see, is 31 degrees Celsius. I'm not kidding, right? Probably you might say that, hey, how can I actually survive? Well, through the whole orientation, when I talk about the mounting and the accessories, right, you can see that my arm in fact is perspiring with all the droplets, sweat droplets. So that's how hot it is. In fact, I've been enduring and trust to, you know, keep this room enclosed to that temperature. That's why you're getting the temperature on 79 degrees Celsius throughout, and the rest of the component, right, not hitting 50 degrees Celsius, which is to me a fantastic unit. Now, besides this, right, there are still something which I wish to say. If you could increase the pins, the pin stack, right, probably a bit higher, and also to another fact that the pump, right, probably I would say that bring it up to 4,000 or so. This unit definitely will outshine and will be my top charter. Right now at the moment it's actually Triax. Now Triax have the advantage whereby they do have thick radiator and the fin stack is 28 inch. Okay, probably I would say that wouldn't need to bring this radiator to 32 millimeter, but have your pin stack at 28 fins per inch. I believe that this unit will be even able to cater more cooling as compared to the Triax. With this said, I'd like to thank Asus Singapore to have provided this unit for me to share with you guys. And those of you who are actually new to my channel, if you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.